podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Here, we love talking about everything Batman. The BatmanUniverse.net has news, original content, and reviews about Batman comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and more. Check out the BatmanUniverse.net and join our Discord server to start chatting with fellow fans. We can't wait to talk to you guys. Also, visit our Patreon page and join our other awesome supporters. But enough of this nonsense. On with the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Batman Universe Comic Podcast, Season 16, Episode 13. I'm your host, Ian.
This is Jaymee.
And this is Theo.
And this is Steph. I'm back.
Yay!
Hello, Jaymee.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, it's so nice to finally podcast with you.
I know. It's been, what, 3 weeks? This is my third week doing it, and I haven't done it with you yet?
I know. I was busy cruising and taking a class that actually the last one did get postponed, so I technically could have made it, but I hadn't read anything, so that would have been pointless.
It's quite ironic because you went cruising right around the time a storm formed in the Gulf, and now another storm is heading your way.
Oh, I know. It's pretty much past, but if I do drop out, it's because the power company is working on some downed power lines.
All right, well, with all our rejoicing at Steph's return, we are going to jump into our brief news item, which is that there's a new Black Label Batman series called Batman Full Moon. It's written and illustrated by Rodney Barnes. It's a 4-issue miniseries. It will have glow-in-the-dark main covers because it is a Batman versus werewolf story.
Versus?
Well, maybe they're friends. I don't know. I haven't read it yet.
Well, no, but I mean, like, I was looking forward to, like, a Twilight Jacob Batman.
You want Batman to fall in love with a werewolf?
No, to be a werewolf.
Oh, you want Batman to be a werewolf.
Whatever.
I mean, we technically already had that with Beast World, and it wasn't good.
That's true. No, you are correct. Well, I liked that part of it, I think.
I mean, that part was okay. I just felt it was a 3-page joke stretched into like 10 pages.
Glow in the Dark seems a little juvenile. I wonder what their age demographic for the book is.
I mean, I will take Glow in the Dark over nudie covers.
That's a Black Label. Isn't that a more mature?
No,
or have they lost that designation?
I don't think they ever knew what that was.
So, Black Label does contain the Vertigo brand, and Vertigo does have mature elements in it, but DC, and I think they should have been clear about this from the beginning, DC wants to maintain brand coherence with their marketable characters like Batman, and so there is mature content in Black Label, but it's not usually going to be in a Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman type story. Hopefully that's clear enough.
So no more Batwing.
That was stupid in the first place. That
Bataway.
It didn't add. It's Batpole, guys. But it added nothing to the story, and Brian Azzarello is out here giving interviews this last week saying, "Oh, I knew when DC censored the bat penis that it wasn't interested in making art." I'm like, the bat nudity did not make it more artistic, dude. It was not an artistic story, okay?
I tell you what would have caused it to not even be any type of problem. All they had to do was polybag.
Yep, that would have been fine.
Polybag and it's a non-story.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were talking about the Batawing.
We were.
Like,
oh,
no,
actually-
like,
Oh, Jesus.
wow. Okay.
Okay, so Theo thoughts on Rodney Barnes. I don't know. Ooh, okay. So Theo thoughts on Theo's true thoughts. Bringing it in. Polybag.
Polybag the book.
Yes. That is what we meant.
I'm not touching that.
You couldn't if it had a polybag on it.
This just
For the
keeps
record,
going.
Steph is for the record, Steph is actually still on the cruise ship. So,
Dude, cruises let you start drinking at 8 a.m. and you can go until you pass out.
That doesn't sound
Because
healthy
the
at all.
coffee shop, the coffee shop has a Kahlua coffee option.
Oh, that's tasty sounding.
It is.
okay, so thoughts on Rodney Barnes? Anyone before I start talking?
Nope, I don't really recognize the name.
I don't recognize the name either.
Okay, so my thoughts on Rodney Barnes on Batman. I have somewhat of a slight concern, only because I am quite salty about the last series he did over at Image, which was Monarch, which was a very good story from the beginning, and it fizzled out like nothing on this planet. It was so good, and it ended so bad. And I am just fearful that it is likely to happen again.
Was that a miniseries?
It was a miniseries, but
Okay.
the ending, you would think that it wasn't
Was
very
very unsatisfying.
very
Well, we'll have to keep
So
an
many
eye on it.
different- so many different ways that it could have ended, and it just
Well, we'll
So,
see if
I'm
Rodney
sorry.
Barnes can get me to get past my read the first issue promise.
hopefully so.
I mean, I'm always open to it. It often does not happen, as you guys know. All right. But, speaking of people who have gotten me past the first issue, we're going to start with our review of Batman 150. Now, this main story is titled Be Better, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Dennis Cohen and Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomu More. Teddy, the petty thief trained by Catwoman in Gotham War, who discovered Batman's true identity, runs his mouth at a local bar about his knowledge, and the bartender tells him he once was a criminal who tried to lift Batman's mask, but Batman woke up and came at him like a demon coming to life in an instant. Another bar patron named Percy approaches and gets Teddy to agree to sell the secret for a lot of money. Next morning, Teddy wakes up at his ex-wife's house, hungover, and finds out his son has moved out, and his ex-wife Kim doesn't want his son turning into his father. Teddy and Percy approach Two-Face, who says he knows Batman's identity already, which you know if you've been reading Detective Comics, and if Batman loses his secret, it will get worse, not better, for criminals. Outside Two-Face's hideout, Teddy sees Batman watching. Next, the criminals approach the Cobblepot siblings, who seem interested, but one of their employees kidnaps Teddy and says the Cobblepots would have killed him. A small gang of former henchmen plan to use Teddy to blackmail Batman into letting them pull heists, but on their first job, Batman manages to crack one of the gang and captures the rest. He drops Teddy off at his son's dorm, where Teddy learns his son idolized him. But when he started running in Scarecrow's gang during the Fear State event, Batman reached out to him in the chaos, sat on a rooftop, and listened, and asked him one thing: be better. Now Teddy's son goes to college on a Wayne scholarship. As he walks out of the dorm, Teddy sees Bruce Wayne and realizes he needs to leave Gotham to escape the chaos he's created. Bruce sets him up with a job in Metropolis and tells him to be the man he wants his son to be, and Batman will always be there to help. So, this is technically an anniversary issue. It's a one-shot, but it ties together a ton of different things. It ties together Zdarsky's run and Tynan's run and a lot of little threads. But I would say it mostly stands alone. Do you guys think that it is a standalone, or do you feel you really need to have read Fear State and Gotham War to get it?
No, I mean, it's late coming for having dropped some of those things in, like the Teddy finding out was kind of shoehorned in at the end of a story, and then nothing ever came of it for the entire arc. And we kind of, every once in a while, be like, where did the dude go? Did they just forget about him? And yeah, so this was like a half a story payoff for that. Yeah. No, you don't have to read those things. In fact, you'd be better off not reading those things because it was just annoying to have to wait this long.
Well, I mean, I think Fear State is fine, but I agree Gotham War sucks.
Yeah. No, I just meant like if you picked up on because not Gotham War, the other one, Fear State, like the kid, if he's in it, is not in any way highlighted.
No, I don't think that's really a thread. That's just the kind of thing where it ties it to the
but the criminal Teddy finding out about Bruce Wayne was very much highlighted.
Yes, that was like the last scene in Gotham War or something.
Yeah, and then it was like, and then yeah. So that was a little frustrating, but I guess we'll talk about the story itself in a little bit. But no, you don't have to read the things, and they weren't even necessary. Well, Teddy wasn't necessary.
Well, I definitely agree with you. You don't have to read it because I didn't read it.
Nice.
I read Gotham War, of course, but I did because of the Catwoman tie-ins and stuff like that. And I just started reviewing Catwoman at the time, but I have not read Fear State, so I have actually no opinion of that story. I didn't really pick up on it being a part of a Fear State per se, other than it kind of. I think they might have said something. It was maybe an off comment. Oh, okay, but it did not lessen. I mean, it was just another scheme of scarecrows, really. Mm-hmm. Which one you've seen one, you've seen hundreds of them. But no, I definitely do not believe that you needed to read any of that. And I also probably would say you didn't really need to read Gotham War either. There was some discussion about that. The Catwoman thing and stuff like that. But other than that, no, I don't think you needed to read any of those.
It was good that they connected the dots. I mean, especially considering the end of Gotham War. But, yeah, I mean, we've seen many a story, a single issue story where someone knows Batman's identity and it ends right then and there. So you technically don't need to read this either, especially knowing that it tied back to Gotham War, which was terrible.
Yeah, I would say this stands alone in a good way, and I appreciate that Zdarsky includes elements so you can connect it to other stories, but it's not. Someone recently said that there's two kinds of continuity. One is the kind that punishes readers for not reading, and one is the kind that rewards readers for reading. And I think this is the latter, which is a preferable kind for my taste. So this story has a very interesting theme of fathers and sons, particularly through Teddy and his son. How do you feel Zdarsky handled that?
I thought it was interesting. It kind of shows like the patriarchic desire to both take care of your family and not be perceived as weak, and then the bad choices you can make in that, and how pride can really get in the way of making better choices, and how it's never too late to make right choices. You may have lost relationships or whatever, sometimes we have to live with the consequences of our actions, but you can still choose to change your life and be a better person. I don't know. That was interesting. I thought the payoff for a lot of stories I read for this podcast. I really enjoyed the payoff. I felt the journey was a little tedious. So I liked what this story had to say, and I really loved the ending. But man, did you have to read a lot of non-consequential dialogue to get here? Like, none of the characters before this moment even matter. Almost none of the dialogue matters. Like, they really could have made this half the size that it was. But I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Basically, yes, the consequences of trying to support your family where you think you can support your family, but then making bad mistakes along the way and then getting wrapped up in those mistakes. And even though he didn't really see it, but those mistakes were harming his son because his son just wanted to be just like his old man. So what is the son of a henchman do? What do they do in order to be just like their old man? They become a henchman themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's
unless
just
their name is Stephanie Brown.
Well, okay. You got me there. But again, that might be a different dynamic because you're dealing with Stephanie, who's a female, and her father, who's a male. So, I mean, there's a slightly different dynamic there. I could go into the psychology of it, but I won't. But I would say that it was a very touching story along those lines and a very consequential story, and it actually had a message. I do hear what Steph says, that this was kind of a drag-on story with a lot of reading to do, and I'm wondering if it might have been better to have this as a prose piece or instead of a comic piece, but definitely shorten it up a little bit. But I liked the overall. I mean, I liked the journey on this as well, because it was just taking in all the details you're getting, all the information you're getting, because you're only getting like snippets of what one character thinks of another character, and then you finally at the end you actually hear it, and you even hear it from one character talking to the other character. So it's not secondhand; it's firsthand. So I really like that theme of father and son, and might be interesting to see it kind of leak into Bruce and Damien, but we'll see.
But you said a whole lot for someone who didn't read it.
No, I read it. I didn't read it.
You didn't read Gotham War.
No, I read.
Oh no, you didn't read.
I didn't read Fear State.
Fear State. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But the thing, like, you said a whole lot to say you didn't read it.
No, I read this book. I'm doing my job.
Okay, Ian. So that I am clear on the question. Repeat it, please.
Well, Zdarsky structures this story's emotional climax around fathers and sons and the impact a father has negatively and positively on sons. And I was just asking, how did you feel that was done? Do you think it was well done, or how did that impact you as a reader?
I'm going to try to say this in a way that isn't too critical. If you all know my history with Zdarsky on Batman, I found it somewhat stereotypical in that the son always wants to follow the dad, and especially when it's in terms of the bad life, because we've seen stories like this before. But growing up in my urban life, this is the type of story that is somewhat told about much of the boys growing up, that they tend to want to follow their fathers, who may not always be good dads. So for me reading it, that was the take that I took. Not saying that is Zdarsky's take, and that's what he's attempting to do. But again, from personal experience, it just seemed somewhat stereotypical. Now, the good side is that his son was able to get out of that thanks to Bruce, but still.
I mean, it might be stereotypical, but I feel like it is a story that is often the case. Like, you have to be aware, and no matter like what the problem is, and women do it too. It's like one of my best friends from high school saw the life that her mother was living, her dad was living. It was like, if I don't make a change, this will be my life too. And she had to be very self-aware and realize that she was in control of her choices to change the trajectory of her life.
And I would argue that most are probably that way.
Yeah.
But this story doesn't present it that way.
True.
It was, I'm going to follow in my dad's footsteps until this outside force, i.e. Batman, causes me to change direction.
I wouldn't say he caused it. He just pointed it out that...
Well, cause influence, I guess. Yeah. Probably be a better word.
Well, I know. I think what Theo is saying is valid, because it's almost like the great hero comes in and swoops in and changes because he does. I mean, he gives him a scholarship to go to school. So he's like the rescuer of this. So this isn't really the son himself actually getting himself out of this mess. It's kind of basically, the great hero coming in, getting him out. And then that great hero comes back years later, or a couple years later, and does the same thing for dear old dad. He gets him a job at Metropolis.
But we can't tell the story of the guy that figured it out on his own, because Batman wasn't involved in that one.
Well, I would argue that, yes, Batman... What I see Batman doing here is not swooping in, saving the son or the father. He's opening a door, and the son and the father have to make the choice to walk through the door. He could give the son a scholarship all he wants. The son still has to go to class and do well. Batman's not giving him money to just live. He's giving him an opportunity. And the same with the father. The father could go to Metropolis and then not take the job. It's not that Batman's just giving him a huge check of money. He's opening a door, and that still leaves the choice to the person.
I absolutely agree with that too, because I adopted a 17-year-old, and we gave him every opportunity, every chance, and then in the end, he rejected all of it. Like, he's doing much better now, but it took reaching the bottom and realizing, maybe mom and dad had a point. But yeah, it is very easy for people to be given life on a silver platter and completely reject it.
No, that's definitely fair. I definitely agree with that too, Ian. And I might have, kind of erred more on the individualistic end of it, because we're talking earlier for another thing. We're talking about values and individuality versus collectivism. And, I could have erred on the individuality per se, but you're right. It is up to generally the person himself, in this case, the son and the father, to do better, as Batman does say. I just kind of wish, and of course then it wouldn't be a Batman story if that was the case, but I kind of wish that, it was a little more, less of reaching down and more of reaching out, if that makes sense. But
And
again, that wouldn't make a Batman story.
And that's kind of the thing. I think there's a lot of discourse, and it can get really heated and really tangled up. But I think fundamentally, when we say that Batman is a dark knight, we are deliberately reaching to the days of aristocracy, when the knights were part of an upper echelon. And a lot of knights, of course, we know, were bullies and used their power to take advantage and prey on those who were weaker and lower in the social status than were. But Batman is supposed to be an idealistic figure, and as such, I think that it is good to have a model of someone who doesn't use his power to, prey on those who are weaker and lower than himself. And I think that there's that thing that goes around on Twitter that just makes me so angry, that says that Batman is just a rich person who beats up poor people. And I'm like,
no.
That is not what happens.
Mentally handicapped.
Mentally ill poor people.
Mentally ill, that's it.
But
I was just thinking that too.
It is not that Batman goes out and just sees random people on the street and hits them. Batman goes out and finds people who are being hurt by other people and stops that. And I think framing it as this, sort of like rich people paying for bum fights or getting involved in bum fights. I mean, the interesting thing is that Zdarsky explicitly has Bruce as a teen in the night doing that, fighting poor people on the streets because he's so angry. And Alfred takes him to task and he says, this is unacceptable. You have, and this is a loaded term, but I think it is appropriate, and I'm trying to use it in a nuanced way. You have privilege. Yes, you have real pain, and your privilege does not negate that. Your parents dying is terrible, and you being a billionaire doesn't make that feel better, and that's just part of being human. But you have a responsibility not to go around as a rich person and beat up poor people on the streets because you feel bad. And I think that this is very much in Zdarsky's vision of Bruce's journey as not being that angry teen who has $1 billion and still hits, poor mentally ill people on the streets. He is reaching out and using the resources. He's not selfishly spending them for his own pleasure. He is using them to make the community better and help people both one person at a time and systemically in this Wayne Scholarship Program. So this is, to me, the kind of one-shot stories that I think should be held up as really an idealistic vision of what Batman can be for us as readers and inspire us to, in small and large ways, try and be better as well.
I have missed this Batman. I was actually very happy. Whether or not he's helping the right way, I missed seeing a Batman that helped criminals and knew the henchmen. Because we've seen that a couple of times in the past, or at least I have noticed it a couple of times. And it's just nice to see that again. Like, he cares about them as people. They're not just nameless thugs to beat up.
Well, yeah, in the last issue, he's building a mansion mansion basically in the city. Mm-hmm. And he's also building better housing around that mansion for the underprivileged. So I definitely I like this. I love this story. This story was a wonderful story. It was a palate cleanser in the 100th degree for me. And it was like, I really was like, oh, I hope this is okay. But it was like after reading a lot with Catwoman and Harley Quinn about them, it's just stories that have so much hope, or I have hope in the story, and then it just gets trashed and I feel like my nose is rubbed in it. This was definitely a wonderful story, a heart-wrenching story, a hopeful story. And I really hope that we see more Batman stories like this.
Yeah. I also am curious what you guys think about the handoffs between the two artists, because they're very, very different. We have Dennis Cohen, who's a classic DC artist going back to the 70s with the Great Question series by Denny O'Neil and his art. And he's worked pretty steadily since then, but he has a very almost Klaus Janson or Bill Sienkiewicz style of very rough pencils and very powerful shapes. And then, of course, we have the classic just anime energy with gorgeous layout and really polished design of Jorge Jimenez for the flashbacks. How did you like the art for this issue, this story?
Yeah, it was scratchy. It was fine. It's fine. It's fine. The scratchiness isn't my favorite. And of course, Jorge can literally do no wrong, so it's all beautiful. Yeah, it was fine. It was wasn't whiplashy going between the two, but it was a little sad seeing one artist I liked and then one I didn't like as much.
I definitely agree. The main artist is definitely scratchier, and I'm not a fan of scratchy either. But I am a fan of changing art style, whether it be just a color palette or over an overall art, when you're dealing with flashbacks versus real, current time. It really helps visualize the difference between that. And of course, yeah, the flashbacks were just beautiful. Beautiful. I could probably picture them being hung on walls, kind of a thing, more so than the current time. But I'll just agree with Steph. It was fine. It was good. It's just I'm just not a big fan of the scratchy art, but I kind of get it a little bit with some of the grittier kind of stories. And this story's kind of sort of gritty, but yeah, I it was okay.
Well, I'm going to disagree with both. Dennis Cowan is one of my absolute favorite artists.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, he is one of my absolute favorite artists. I have been a fan prior to his time with Milestone. And I'm happy Ian mentioned Bill Sienkiewicz because Sienkiewicz kind of talked Collins and gang into starting Milestone. So those guys are very good friends and they've done a lot with each other. So I'm happy you mentioned, yeah, but I absolutely love this art, and having Jorge do the flashbacks just added to it. So yes, love it. I will pick up anything with a Dennis Cowan cover on it. As a matter of fact, I have been hoarding and searching left and right for the Batman black and white statue that's based on one of Cowan's covers, and I have not been able to find it, and I'm so sad about it.
Well, I'm very happy that Theo and I can fist bump over Dennis Cowan and Jorge. I first came across Dennis Cowan's art, I want to say, during Priest's run on Deathstroke, which makes sense. I think they probably connected during the Milestone days in the 90s. And, of course, I would not complain if you got a whole, 30-page main story for 150th anniversary by Jorge, but that's a lot to ask when he's doing all these covers and he's doing all these interiors and he's going back and forth in different projects. So I appreciate that we get some of that Jorge just beautiful poster-like energy, but also we get the rough power and the emotion that you can really get with Dennis Cowan's art. So, and I just like seeing Dennis Cowan get some recognition. I mean, I'd love to see these old school artists from the 70s get recognition all the time. We got Kevin McGuire doing some backs on Green Lantern. We've got Lee Weeks sometimes popping in and doing some great stuff over in Action Comics. I appreciate when you can. I'd love to see more Tom Grummett. Like, all these guys can still draw the heck out of things. And I'd love to see more stories that can highlight their talent. Any other thoughts before we move on to the backup?
I don't think it needed that many characters. That was a lot of people in this issue that ended up being non-consequential.
But wouldn't you say that the non-consequential people are kind of the point of this story? That the actions of our big superhero characters have fallout that, people on the ground, these third-tier henchmen for Bane and Scarecrow and Poison Ivy have to live with. And it's nice to see when one of the quote-unquote big people interacts with these people as if they matter.
Yeah.
Because they do matter.
And I was kind of, as I was thinking about it, I was thinking, there was just a lot in the beginning, and there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of talking, and there's just a lot of chaos, and this guy's life is not what he thinks it is, and blah, blah, blah. And then it all just quiets down when he's alone in the dorm with the son, and it's just the two of them talking, and it's just nice and quiet. Like, I could almost hear the difference in chaos and then calm when he's talking to his son. I don't know.
And I think that's part of the importance of, as part of the story itself was all the chaos that, Teddy was trying to get, just to make money.
Yeah, he's
for
a schemer.
His family.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's a gambler and a schemer, and that kind of life is chaotic. And there are very few people who can pull it off, and Teddy clearly isn't one of them. So I hope that we see him in the future doing well in Metropolis, maybe having a phone call with his son. That'd be nice.
It would be nice.
All right. In case it's not clear, I really love the main story. Moving on to our backup, which is an Absolute Power tie-in written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Mike Hawthorne. Bruce muses about how he destroyed the company that made the gun that killed his parents, but his own gun, Failsafe, is now under Amanda Waller's control, along with Amazo robots. One of these Amazo robots attacks Cyborg at Titan's Tower in Bloodhaven, and Batman fights and fails to prevent the capture of his friend. Before his capture, Cyborg tells Batman that Waller has a mother box from Apocalypse, and Batman plans to recruit Catwoman to steal it. First question. Mike Hawthorne is back. He's best known by us for his work on The Batman of Gotham, the second arc of Zdarsky's run, and, of course, Gotham War. How do you like his art on this backup?
It's fine. It was art. People looked like people. Action looked like action. Proportions were good. It was very good art. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's fine. Angry mouths look a little weird. Mouths look weird. Okay. I said don't take any of it back, but mouths do look weird. But anyway.
I mean, it's superhero art. I mean, that's definitely how I would characterize it. I think it's fine. It doesn't turn me off. The story turns me off, but the art doesn't turn me off. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the art. Don't get me talking about the story, though.
In Gotham War, Mike Hawthorne was terrible. In this story, it's just bad.
Aww.
I kind of feel the same way as Theo. I have just such a sour taste in my mouth because I didn't like his art in The Batman of Gotham.
Wait, me and Ian are just agreeing a little bit too damn much right now.
This is not good.
This is
Look, I almost didn't recognize the artist from that run, or the one where he's in an alternate dimension or whatever. Until I saw the mouths, and I was like, "Oh no, never mind. I do recognize that guy."
My thing is, he had such weird foreheads in Gotham War, and now I can't help just check his foreheads every time. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe if I know artists better, which I don't know artists better, maybe I can start picking out, oh, that's this person and that's that person. But I just don't know these artists very well. I just sort of like what I like and okay with what and I also look at whether the style fits the story as well. But I need to be more cognizant of artists and who they are, and that's where I'm really bad.
It takes a while to start deliberately noticing it. I mean, I would say that for the first several years on the podcast, I didn't think about it as much as I should have, and it's something I'm trying to bring in more now.
Yeah, but there are artists as soon as you see him, you're like, ooh, or you're like, oh no, like, ooh, Dan Moore, ooh, Jorge, oh no,
Howard Porter.
Howard Porter.
Ian and I are agreeing a little bit too much right about now. Something we need to check the polarities of a magnetic field or something.
Steph, you and I seem to be agreeing a lot too, don't you think?
I think so. Well, except okay. So again, I kind of mentioned I liked. I was having trouble getting to a lot of issues this week, and then the ending would come, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. So of course, this one's no exception. So of course, it was all awful, and then at the end, he's like, I'm gonna call in my girlfriend. I was like, oh, yes, you are.
So that's actually my next question, which is, most of the story is forgettable nonsense, but the end, I think, hints at something much more interesting, which is Batman and Catwoman teaming up to do a heist
against Waller and
against Waller.
Oh, jeez.
So I think that sounds like possibly a fun thing. I hope it's not Hawthorne, but I think I remember it being one.
I was thinking as long as it's not Danny Howard.
No. This is going to be written by Zdarsky. But
okay, good.
So what do you think about that setup for Batman Catwoman teaming up to do a heist of the Mother Box?
Before Steph answers, can I ask this? Is it common that the tie-in that's on the cover is actually the backup story?
Oh, that was weird.
Well, they did it for House of Brainiac and Green Lantern, so it is something they're doing more now.
I guess the only thing with that is the stuff with Guy Gardner and everything. It wasn't really the main story, whereas in Action and Superman, it was the main story.
But on the flip side, they don't know what a backup is anymore. like when we read that one story, they were like, "Oh yes, this is Neo, whatever it was," and we were so excited. And then it was a completely random story and had nothing to do with anything.
DC would have to give me 6 figures before I will claim the boy to be anyone but Nero. He will, in death, he will be Nero. I don't give a damn what they say.
And then, no, they don't know what a backup is anymore. It's just completely. Sometimes it's related to the story. Sometimes it's completely random and it's whatever. And now the backup is the main story. No, whatever.
Was so broke. You had to bring that back up. That was the worst part.
That was the worst part.
Shadow of the Bat, the backup
I was
story.
so invested in that kid too.
I was so invested too. I loved all the tie-ins to Nightfall and No Man's Land. I was like, this is the best. This is John Paul kicking, chasing over the side. And then it was just like the worst.
You know,
that
just
ending
kidding.
was so bad. Oh, I'm so mad.
I gotta calm down before I get to San Diego.
Okay.
But the end set. Are we talking about the setup? I forget.
Yeah, still asking.
What was your question? Oh yeah. No, I think that sounds fun, especially if Teenie Howard's not writing it. I think Batman and Catwoman against Waller is a setup I would love to see.
Only to really stick to it.
It's true.
I would like to see that too, but right now I am so pissed at Waller that I want to go after her. So, but yeah, I'd definitely throw Batman and Catwoman at her. That sounds like fun. Maybe Catwoman get a scratch or two in.
I am especially excited after because I just finished 149 before I read this one. So seeing them happy walking into the mansion together, that's.
Did you like 149? Did it tug your heartstrings?
I did. I loved 149, especially since a lot of what I read did not make me happy. 149 was lovely.
So I'm curious. Did you like 149 or 150 better?
149.
Okay.
I
I don't know what I would say. I mean, 149 has Steph, and you know that always gives me like 0.5 points more. But I loved both of these a lot.
All is right in the world because I liked 150 better.
Excellent. All right, let us get to our ratings. Out of 5 Wayne scholarships, what would you give our Batman 150?
3.75.
Okay. If I could eliminate the backup, I would give it a 5 out of 5.
Whoa.
But with the backup, I have to drop it down to a 3 out of 5.
So I was gonna be on a similar track. If it was just the main story, it's easily a solid 4.25. With the backup, even with the whole "I'm gonna get my girlfriend to steal this thing from me" thing, it's still, I'm not interested in absolute power. I'm just not. It goes down to a 3.75.
Oh, this makes me so happy. So I am exactly the same as Theo, and this will make him very upset. But
come on, I'm going to get a beer or something so I can just.
So I would give the main story a 4 across the board. Art, writing, perfection for me. And so 4 is not perfect, but 5s are the kinds of things that's like, this is a once in 10-year comic. And this is not quite a once in 10-year comic. This is definitely the kind of thing that I'm going to be in conversation comic of the year, like top 10 comics, but it's not a once in 10-year comic. So it's not a 5, but it is a 4. Very, very high. Very good. Backup, I'm just like, this is nonsense. The end is a slight thing, so it's not dropping all the way to 3.5, but it is a 3.75 for me, which means we have 3 3.75s. So there's nothing you can do to get rid of the mode. And on the website, Scott gave this a 4, which gives an overall score of 3.65. But I would say that's a pretty good rating.
That's pretty good rating.
Whether you are a first-time TBU Comics podcast listener, a 13-year veteran, or anything in between, we'd love to hear what you think about this episode or any of the comics we discussed. Send emails to tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net. Join our Discord server linked at thebatmanuniverse.net. Send us a tweet at TBU_comics. Or, if you're a patron, leave us a comment on our Patreon page. We'd also love it if you left us a review on iTunes. We'd love to read your comments on the next episode of the Batman Universe Comics Podcast. Batman may claim he works alone, but we know that he needs the Bat Family. Join the TVU Bat Family and let us know what you think.
All right, let's move on to Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin number 11. Welcome to Dinosaur Island. Written by Josh Williamson. Art and colors by Juan Ferreira.
I always say Ferreira, but it might be wrong.
Ferreira. On Dinosaur Island, Bane kills T-Rexes with his bare hands. They're actually his Bane hands. Damian rides Goliath alongside Bruce in the Batplane to the island. The duo crash lands after flying through a panicked flock of pterodactyls and find massive tank-like tracks. They meet up with Maya Ducard, who tracked Bane around the world to this place. She also shows them a group of Cobra cultists rounding up dinosaurs, just because they're really cool. Before Damian can rescue the animals, however, Bane arrives, destroying the Cobra vehicles and beating the cultists. But as Maya points out, killing no one at all. Enraged by his memories of Bane murdering Alfred in front of him during City of Bane, Damian attacks, with Maya and Bruce following. Batman is grabbed by Vengeance, daughter of Bane, last seen in the backup of Detective Comics, working with Azrael perplexingly. The end.
So, there's a lot going on in this issue, and I think the first thing I'd like to know is, how do you like the way Williamson handles Damian and Bane's recent past?
Well, there wasn't a lot of...
There's a lot of flashbacks.
I thought Bruce taking the time to talk with Damian beforehand was great. I actually really liked that whole page. That was kind of nicely... That was very lovelily done. And then the flashback when he's actually face-to-face to Dwayne, because honestly, we can think we're as ready as we think we are. And then once you come face-to-face with your fear, you just don't know what you're going to do, really. So I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was well done. It definitely showed Damian's weakness. We were always seeing how strong Damian is. Now he can overcome anything. He has a plan for everything. But here's a time that he is acting impulsively because of an emotion that's evoked. So I thought it was all very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And let me see if I can make this clearer. I did not read City of Bane. So I know of the death of Alfred. I just did not know how he actually died. So
Now
this
you
little...
do.
Now I do. And I think it probably was as gruesome as it was depicted here, right?
Yep.
But so it makes a lot of sense. And I could definitely see Bruce just wanting to be there. Because there's even actually a statement that, Damian has tried so hard to, and I'm going to use the term programming, but I mean it loosely, but programming from Raz or Raish. But that programming and Damian has been moving further and further away from killing. But this whole incident, this, face to face with this guy who basically killed, before Bruce, really, the only other father figure that this boy has really had. And I definitely see him acting the way he acts. It's almost like the trauma of it is regresses him. It regresses his development, if you will. And it's just by just seeing this man. And yeah, it's definitely powerful. It's very powerful. As far as, relations between the two, we don't really see them interacting, Bane and Robin, unless I miss something. But just the whole fact that, they're in the same, in essence, room together. I'm not even sure if Bane even knows that Robin's really there, but of course Robin knows that Bane's there, and that's all that really matters. But I think it was really well done, and I really appreciated the flashback to kind of get somebody like me who hadn't read it before to actually understand it, because I know the turmoil that Damian had been through after Alfred's death, and how he took he basically felt like he was to blame for it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Batman also felt to blame for it because Batman has a similar relationship with Alfred. So I definitely appreciated this. Yeah, it was definitely very, very well done. I really, and again, like I said before, I appreciate the color palette, change in the color palette between the flashbacks and the current action. So I loved it. It was good.
So I'm going to take this from two fronts. First of all, seeing the flashbacks, and I know there are some folks with different takes, and I think Ian is one of them. But seeing the flashbacks make me only hate Dan Didio more for causing Alfred to stay dead, because we all know that the story was that the whole Alfred dead thing was supposed to be a hallucination. That Dan Didio decided had to stay put. Jackass.
Okay, I did not know that. Thank you for enlightening me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Dan Didio picked up the. Start bleeping it. Start bleeping Steph.
You bleeping yourself.
Dan Didio picked up the issue, called Tom King, and said, "I think we need to let Alfred stay dead." Paraphrasing.
Oh, I mean, I've heard of that. You know, I'm pissed about Batwoman not being able to get married to Maggie because it was, oh no, they can't be happy.
Oh, you don't get me started on the whole happy thing, please.
Oh, I won't. But
now, from the other standpoint, I really wish this final story arc from Joshua Williamson just gives me a little hint, just a little touch of that little bastard that wanted to kill Tim Drake go after Bane. Just a little bit. We don't need to see full-blown crazy Damian. Just a little bit snarky, I'm gonna rip your throat out because I can do so, Damian. Just a little bit. What we see at the end of the issue, if we can just kick that up just a little bit, I will be a happy person. But I still hate Dan Didio for it.
Theo, we're still on the same train. When I saw those pages, I'm like, Dan Didio, curse you! I thought it was very well done. I like the fact that Williamson's continuing his thread from the Robin series when the Ghost Alfred was talking to Damian a lot. But I still am just so frustrated about how Dan Didio did that for no good reason. Like, I understand, like, we could have a whole conversation and I could give the real reason why Dan Didio did it, but I think it is a nonsense reason and he should be ashamed. Next question.
He could be fired. Oh, wait.
He was.
See, I don't think about Dan Didio, so I feel like overall I'm a happier person than y'all. Cause
You probably are, but I lived through War Games and the New 52, where my favorite character was tortured to death for 5 issues and then erased from existence for 3 years. So I will never forget Dan Didio.
no, that's fair.
Poor
That's definitely
Ian.
fair.
Poor Ian.
All right.
I would love. I mean, we can have a. I mean, that could be like an extra episode where we could just talk about our hatred of Dan Didio for.
I mean, we already did that the day he was fired.
Screwing over Wally West how many times?
Yeah.
Killing them all
So
and then bringing them back, and
Not
then
giving his kids or his wife back.
no, and then killing them again in Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Wally.
All right. Next question. So this one we may finally get off the train. How do you feel about Juan Ferreira's art for this issue?
Oh, I thought it was so fun. Like the first few pages, I legit thought this was going to be a silent issue just showing Bane on the island. I was like, I get down with that. I mean, I want Batman and Robin, but you know, I like this. I thought it was a beautiful issue. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I think the art got better as the issue went on. Some of the early panels were kind of like wonky as far as lines were concerned, but as the issue progressed, it got a lot better to that final splash page of Scandal holding Batman by the throat or the neck, back of the neck, which I thought was really, really awesome. But yeah, I think it got really good at the end. And in the very beginning, it wasn't so. It was so, but it just got real good real fast.
So I'll take it my turn. So I was not as big of a fan of the art. There were some touches of Howard Porter in it.
I agree with that.
That really drew me off. But then the thing that really did it was how he drew Vengeance. Vengeance is much more thicker than that. You have to respect the Vengeance, and he did not. So, yeah, not a fan.
Interesting.
She's wearing a very big coat.
If you agree with me, I'm hanging up.
No,
not really.
See, this is the thing. We're off the train. I'm with Steph. I really like the art. I think it's very good. I've been a fan of Juan Ferreira since he did Gotham by Midnight way back. Actually, Jaymee and I did a podcast about
Yeah,
that.
we did.
So I like the art a lot. So we are off the train, separate cars. Everything is right with the world again.
I liked the art, but I will agree with Theo. I was getting Howard Porter vibes. Reading this, I was subconsciously thinking more about Howard Porter than I normally do on an average day, which is 0 times.
See, I don't see that. Where do you see the Howard Porter?
It's nothing really specific. It's just every once in a while, it's like,
The line work is the line work. There were several pages and several panels throughout the entire issue where the line work just the facial features just gave me all the vibes.
I would say for me it's the facial features more. Yeah. But
That might be what I was referring to. Was that in the beginning of the issue?
It's all through.
It's all through because I definitely saw it like in the beginning. I thought their lines on their faces were kind of weird. Especially the lines on Damian's face, but
this is just so weird.
I'm trying.
This is not something I think about at all because Howard Porter, to me, the thing I don't like about Howard Porter is the texture of the art for Howard Porter. It just feels blobby and blotchy, and Juan Ferreira feels very colored pencil in texture, like very fine detail work. So I'm not saying that the line shapes are not similar, but it's not what stands out to me at all. So it's very interesting that this is such a big thing.
So Ferrero did the second half of Gotham by Midnight. Is that correct? Because that's kind of what I remember. Because the first artist was like very indie vibe, as
Ben
I said.
Templesmith, one of the classic horror artists.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I can definitely see the similarities to it just by thinking back to Gotham by Midnight, especially the second half of that run.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. We have a very interesting setup, and we only have, let me think, how many issues do we have left? We have August and September's issue. So is it going to be probably a 3-issue arc? Where would you like to see, I mean, Theo's hinted at with his desire to see feral Damian attacking Bane, but obviously Damian's not going to be able to kill Bane. So how would you like to see Josh Williamson handle this last 3-issue arc about Batman, Robin, Maya, Vengeance, and Bane?
I got my answer already.
Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to see Damian heal. I mean, honestly, don't care what happens with Bane. I think they should just leave Bane on the island. He's taking care of the dinosaurs. He's beating up members of Cobra. It's all good. Everyone's happy. I'd like to see Damian heal and actually face his trauma and get better. Because, right now, a lot of the Bat children have a little bit of stuff going on. Dick's got his fear of heights, which sucks. and Damian got whatever this is. So, I'd like to see him get better.
Well, as somebody who's faced trauma most of their life, I would probably say that I definitely agree. I would like to see Damian get better. But I just had this great picture of a great scene of Damian jumping over Bane and cutting that Venom tube. But that's just sort of my own little, wouldn't that be cool? But but yeah, I definitely would like to see some healing. But I guess my question then to that is, can the Batman family really have healing?
If they want to get back to the status quo, yes.
An excellent
Yeah.
Not according to that video. Anyway, heal, schmill, cut, none of that matters. What I need to see happen at the end of this story arc is for Damian to go to Maya and say, you know what? That whole brother-sister thing, that don't work.
I knew you were going to say that.
I need my boy to go and express himself to Maya. Joshua, I know you're listening. You got time to make some edits. You are not on the hot. Make it happen. They're close in age now. I need Damian to express his feelings to Maya.
How can you be closer in age unless you're John?
Because it's comics. That's why.
Yeah.
What about
just tell me how
Flatline?
old Damien and
Oh,
Tim
please.
are compared to each other.
Flatline. No. Flatline, nothing. No. Flatline needs to go and pull somebody heart out somewhere. Go play with us. Damien and this has been Theo's thing since Jesus was a baby.
2,000 years. Wow.
Damian Wayne, and if Theo believed in such a thing, Damian Wayne and Maya Ducard is Theo's one true ship.
Your OTP.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Stella, if you're listening, I'll be on next year's show.
So what I would like is someone to explain why Vengeance is here on Dinosaur Island instead of in Gotham the last time we saw her hanging out with Azrael and... Who's the other guy shoot?
Was it Professor Monkey or whatever his name is? Detective Chimp?
No, like there was this thing that Azrael and
No, I remember.
Vengeance were hanging out, but there was one
Was
other
it Cass?
person. No, it wasn't Cass. And
What story was that in Detective?
it was the backups. And it was tying back to Sword of Azrael. Pump for Sword
Was
of
it-
Azrael. Great story. Everyone should read it.
Was it the question?
Was it Question? Maybe it was
I
Question.
think it was the question.
Yeah, might have been Question. But anyway, she was in Gotham relatively recently, last year. And so this confuses me. So I want an explanation. That is what I want. And yes, this is a weird priority for me, but that's what I want from this story.
I'm not even sure where there's any continuity between these three series myself.
I like continuity. I want.
I
things to
know,
make
I
sense.
kind of understand that, but these three series are just completely separate and different, and it's like, is this even the same Earth kind of a thing?
That is a very good point. All right. Any last questions before we give our ratings for Batman and Robin number 11?
I'm gonna miss Williams.
Well, maybe we'll be lucky and it'll be someone very cool on the title. And maybe it'll be Teenie Howard.
And maybe it'll be tea.
Dude, don't get cussed out.
Yeah.
Don't make me sad. Don't give me nightmares.
I'm pretty sure it's not, because Teenie Howard said in her newsletter that she's not doing ongoings for a while.
Why
Man.
is there a dinosaur island?
Oh, this is a thing this is a thing from Task Force X way back in War Comics. I
Oh
wanna
yeah,
say.
yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
And Tomasi did an arc of Superman where Superman and John went to Dinosaur Island together, I think. Didn't they, Theo? Back in Rebirth?
Yeah, they did. Trying to remember when it happened.
Well, it happened
why?
early on,
Why is
and then
it
it happened
there?
in the ending. Oh, this is just random DC silliness.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's the Savage Land in Marvel, so Dinosaur Island in DC.
Yeah, Dinosaur Island has been around for decades.
Yeah, I mean that was the original Suicide Squad before Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
That was the military unit.
In World War II, specifically.
Yeah, it was. It was during World War II that they got stuck on that island.
Reminds me of in Simpsons, there's Dinosaur Island. No, it's Monster Island. But the guy's like, don't worry, it's just a name. And then you find out that it's called Monster Island, even though it's a peninsula.
In that case, I sentence you to a lifetime of horror on Monster Island. Don't worry, it's just a name.
He said it was just a name. Island is actually a peninsula.
Okay.
I have no idea what just happened there.
So, any other questions about Dinosaur Island or otherwise before we give our ratings?
All right, we have to give it a rating.
All right, Steph, give us a rating.
Man.
Out of 5
dinosaurs.
jawless T-Rexes.
Aww.
It's a
I give
dinosaur.
it.
Wait, no, that's animal cruelty.
Bane is
give
a
it-
villain, man.
I give it 4. I very much enjoyed this. It's very fun. And even though I got Howard Porter vibes, I still liked the art. Especially, I actually liked the beginning without Batman or Robin in it. But 4. Final answer.
4.5 out of 5.
Oh my.
Dinosaurs.
It would be a solid 4, but the art just. Although I am happy to see Goliath. On any page, I always love to see Goliath. But anyway, 3.5.
So
It's not a 5, unfortunately, as last issue.
But Maya's in it.
I know, but it wasn't the reveal made it a 5.
So
mean,
this is a what?
No, just saying Goliath showing up and then Goliath showing up with the hologram of Maya. Chef's kiss. 5.
So this is
No, you're not.
a 3 for me. Not
2.
bad, but I just
2.
I'm
Why?
struggling a bit.
We
Because
started so well.
I'm really irritated about the vengeance thing.
He's not thick, right?
Comics.
That's not what I'm talking about, but okay.
Is she gonna die or something? Explain it. Explain. Just like we need to explain how she gets from Gotham
I mean,
to
you could
Dinosaur
actually
Island.
explain that because in Gotham she was going through massive withdrawal. So withdrawal does tend to make you lose weight. So maybe that's what's going on.
She was going through venom withdrawal? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, on the website, Daniel gave this a 3 1/3, which, as
Point
people know,
3
bar repeating.
I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating, of course, percentage of survival.
That gives us an average of 3.67. And I did not choose to give this a mode, so Theo can't get mad at me because it's not my doing. He can get mad at me for how low my rating is, but he can't get mad at me for making my rating the same as someone else.
How did you round that?
How did I round what?
You stopped at only what, 2 decimals?
That's correct.
So cold.
I mean, it doesn't change the average. I just tested it.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so moving on to Greater Gotham. Poison Ivy, number 24.
Abstain.
Thumbs up.
The fact that it's getting rid of Janet from HR, it's at least a neutral, trending up.
Abstain. Birds
Now,
of-
is this her, do we know if this is her last issue or if she's coming back after?
So they're
Sorry.
all talking about how this series is going to continue. So I think it's just going to keep going, but we don't know for sure.
Series is gonna, I just don't know if Willow Wilson is going to be on it.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get some big announcements from San Diego about the Bat family because I'm hurting. We've lost so many titles. All right, Birds of Prey, number 11.
Abstain.
Thumbs up.
Get so tight.
Neutral.
Abstain. The Boy Wonder, number 3.
Okay, so I read number 2, and that was very thumbs up. 3 was good too, but just thumbs up. It's not like an enthusiastic thumbs up. I think it's my least favorite so far, but it was still very good.
Why was
Well,
it
I
your
read
least
one.
favorite?
I read 1, 2, and 3, and I would say thumbs up.
God, I want to say thumbs up, but it was really more neutral.
Oh, now that's interesting because this is actually a pretty firm thumbs up from me. So we're definitely not on the same train anymore.
I can imagine why. I can imagine why with Tim in there. Just
Well, I
don't know.
think it's a good Tim.
I don't know. The cockiness, I think, got to me.
But so, Steph, why is it less of a thumbs up than 2? Because 2 actually went neutral. I did not enjoy it as much.
I just felt like there was less emotional exploration this time. And I just was a little weirded out that, like, Damien didn't realize that Tim was just acting. And I think it just dragged a little bit for me. But overall, I liked it, though. I still thought it was a
Tim
thumbs up.
seemed much older in this than in
There
continuity.
does seem to be a bigger age difference between Damien and Tim in this, for sure.
Well, the Red Robin costume is hearkening back to the 2009 era when Tim was 17 and Damien was 10.
That's true.
So I think Junie Ba definitely is envisioning somewhere between a 5 and 7 year age gap here. Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, number 2.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I won't be a contrarian. I'll say thumbs up.
I actually am also a thumbs up. I was kind of teetering for the first one, but this one is still interesting.
He's gonna break up with Julie, or Julie's gonna break up with him. I can see.
I expect her to meet her maker.
Now Steph is being anti non-Selena ships.
I don't like Julie.
I
She's
don't.
too normal. She's such a normie.
Did you read the Batman First Night by Jurgens and Perkins, the World War II miniseries?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Because that has some full-on passion between Bruce and Julie.
Bleh.
Surely does.
I shan't read it. I shan't read it at all.
I mean, you're not missing a whole lot. I was a little disappointed with that series.
Yeah,
All
but I don't expect Julie to be around long, and I think that's gonna be Holly who's gonna take her out.
Batman,
Her Talia.
Batman 89 Echoes, number 3.
Ugh, neutral. It was fine, but there was so much exposition. I glossed over so much of that. I still don't really know why he's there because I didn't want to read all that exposition. But the rest of the book was fine.
Thumbs up. I enjoyed it, and I like Batman 89. It makes me want to go read the original the comic miniseries Batman 89.
I did have to do some research when I was reading this, though. I was like, when were flip phones a thing? And they came out in 1996. So, okay, yeah, they could have flip phones in this universe. That's fine.
I didn't read it, but I am of the opinion, because I put previews and I got all the issues together, but I'm at the point where these volumes no longer need to have the Batman 89 symbol tied to it. That's just me.
I abstain because this series started back in November and the last issue was 4 months ago. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to keep reading a book. I'll read it in trade if I really want to when you have 4-month gaps.
I do keep forgetting what happened in between.
4-month gaps.
I saw someone post on Reddit how this is going the way of Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock, yeah.
Superman 78 started the same month, and it's already got a trade. What are you doing, guys? Also, Superman 78, The Metal Curtain was great. Everyone should read it. Death in the Family, Robin Lives, number 1.
Oh, you know what? I liked it. Thumbs up, I liked it. I don't know if I'm going to be all alone, but I thought it was good.
You might be all alone.
Well, let's see what Jaymee says.
Do we get a drum roll? Thumbs up.
Yay, I'm not alone!
Thumbs down. That was terrible.
I knew you were going to like it.
I mean, we kind of had a conversation on the staff server about it. I like the Mattis, but I don't know if he's the right person.
This is a neutral for me. I wanted to like it. I didn't hate it, but I definitely wasn't as excited after reading it as I was when I started reading it. So that was a little bit of a bummer. I'm hoping it will get better, though.
It just didn't. It didn't seem like Jason Todd from Death in the Family. Jason Todd.
Sure.
And I get the whole coming back, blah 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 blah, but still, I get the whole blah 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 blah. He survived, blah 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 blah. I get all of it, but come on, it's Jason.
All right. Outsiders, number 9.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I write down what I think as soon as I finish reading it, and then I email it to myself so I don't forget. I didn't write thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral. I wrote WTF. I have no idea what happened in this issue. I know I never know what happens in these issues, but this time I legitimately, from the top to the bottom of my heart, do not know what happened in this issue.
And what did you?
And I read it. I read all of it.
What did you write, Steph?
WTF.
We actually had that. Remember we had that as a rating one?
Oh, we've had that a couple, once or twice.
Did we?
But these
Yeah, I
are,
don't remember.
they're rare. They're rare.
It's been a while.
I feel like that should be my rating for tech now.
I would like to rate it as Y.
It's too late.
Don't make me read it.
I'm going to say neutral. I didn't hate it, but I'm glad Batwoman's back with the team. She's bringing some interesting knowledge with, the hex gun. I thought that was interesting. I have a hard time describing what is happening. But I'm going to go with neutral on this, but maybe a high neutral. But again, like I said, I can't describe what's happening. I know planetary.
Yeah, that's what I say every time.
The fact that Kate is back with the team was not enough to save it from being a thumbs down. Sorry. Not sorry.
Thumbs up for me. This series continues to be fun. It's interesting because I don't agree with some of the ideas that Kelly and Lanzig are dramatizing and putting in here, but I enjoy the characterization. I really like the art, and I love Planetary. And I don't agree with everything in Planetary either. I just think it's a really well-told story, and I think this is a worthy sequel to it. So I am happy about it, and one of these days I will get people to do a Planetary podcast, and we will have an episode all about this series, and people will finally understand. That's a joke. I have too many podcasts. I'm not doing another one. Ending up with Wayne Family Adventures chapters 119 and 120. We're not going to take it and break myself into pieces.
I forgot to read them, so
Oh
I'm
my
quickly
goodness.
trying to read. Well, and I don't have access to 120.
I am making note of this. The fact that Steph missed.
I forgot. I've been busy. I had a tornado come through my town today. I've been busy. And I had a festival with
Tornado
Laura
or
Hall.
hurricane?
Whatever.
Anyway, so am I the only person who read
I'm the
these?
editor. I can edit this out so I can't ever be wrong.
Oh my goodness, that's unfair. I pretend.
See, now I'm just trying to help you out by saying Steph is still cruising, y'all.
I'm cruising.
Well,
But anyway, I forgot to read them. I'm halfway through, or I'm third way through, and I'm enjoying it. But it's definitely looking like they're going more arc and plot arcy now instead of serial gagging.
Oh yeah, it's 100% serialized.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I read chapters 118 or episode 118 or whatever you want to call it, which was the second half of Joker kidnapping Signal, and I read 119, which I'd give a thumbs up, but I could not find 120.
It's not up yet.
Yeah, you have to.
It doesn't
pay
come
on
out
the app.
till Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So that's not fair, Ian.
What do you mean it's not fair? The app
You're
is.
giving us homework we can't do.
You could totally do it. Okay, Theo, I'm assuming this is an abstain, but I do not wish to speak for you.
You would be correct.
All right, and this is a thumbs up for me. I am curious to see how this serialized experiment goes, and I'm enjoying the characterization as usual. All right, that brings us to our thankfulness portion of the podcast. I would like to thank our Patreon subscribers, specifically Lisa Slack, Ed Grouse, Johnny McCloskey, Ian Miller, Captain America, David Richards, Joshua Lappin-Bertoni, Caspian73, Donald Townsend, Rob O., Stephanie Mounts, and Brendan Roberts. Thank you all for supporting us and helping us to keep the show and the archives on the internet. You help us get motivated for our podcasting, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you. And that is the end of our show. Thank you for listening. I've been Ian.
This was Steph.
Jaymee.
And this is Theo.
And we'll see you next time.
I am going to get an IPA.
Do it. Oh gosh. I couldn't read tech.
Well,
I skimmed it. I read.
We're not talking about tech today.
I know, but he's getting his IPA. I skimmed it. I couldn't read the Thousand-Eyed Man Theo stuff. My what's it? My whole phobia. My trepidophobia wouldn't.
But
let
that
me
wasn't
read it.
even the worst part. The worst
I
part was
know.
Joker's daughter.
I know,
Yes,
which I
that
didn't understand, or I gotta understand why that was in there at all.
I understand why it's there, but I'm angry about
Please,
it.
please,
Wait a
please
minute.
don't traumatize me anymore than necessary.
Am I actually coming back here to hear you all talking about freaking Detective Comics?
I
was
told
just
her
mentioning
not
how I
to.
almost didn't read
I
it.
told
She
her not
started
to.
it.
Stephanie Mount.
I was just waiting for you to come back. Gosh.
Oh.